what are some things that happened for you between your first sculpture and your second sculpture? What revisions did you make? Yes, ma'am.
I made it more area specific or topic specific instead of a big generic picture.
So what did you create?
Well, I went from the divided United States to an apple.
Say more about that.
My apple is the symbol for survival because the idea is still that they still need to be able to survive, people in general, no matter the race. But after the war, their survival had to change.
Okay, all right, all right. Anybody on this side? How did you revise your sculpture from the first go around to the second go around, if at all?
Well, I like what Mr. Briggs did.
Okay.
At first, the first time he had the donkey and the elephant pulling away from each other.
Can everybody hear what Donna's saying? Okay, well, maybe stand up. I can hear you.
At the first statue, he had the donkey and the elephant pulling away from each other in a struggle, power. And now he's turned them toward each other with flag in them, and they're working together to I think that's
and you also said that you saw some parallels between the Reconstruction era and where we are today, which is an important sort of DOK3, DOK4 piece, connecting the history to contemporary situations and issues, which is what brings it alive for young people. Okay, another one from this side.
Well, I just had a bridge to begin with because we were trying to connect the North and the South and connect African Americans and whites. And so this time I put people on my bridge holding hands to represent that they were progressing and trying to move forward. Even though it was hard, they were still making the effort.
Okay, all right. Yes, ma'am.
Piggyback off what you just said, she said they holding their hands together. That's what I had at first, them holding hands together. And now I have where a large black man on top of a white man, changing sides. What if? And the shoes on up, just like right now, Obama, they're changing sides. He's over everything.
Okay, so linking the past to the present, okay. Asking these what if questions, which is what you do sort of at the levels of DOK. And then, of course, you would be using evidence and information and primary sources and whatever to help fill in, to help answer those questions or to feed the debate or whatever that is. Okay, one more from this side. Yes, sir.
With Donna, what she had done is initially she had set up with the grandfather clause, where she had a picture that made an emblem of an old man with a beard and everything, trying to keep the old ways alive.
Okay.
In her revision, what she did was she made someone that is, she redid the body totally. And where one arm was of the flag, the other arm was of the general body of America, but the head was based at the flag, focusing once again on solidarity of the nation as a whole.
Okay. This is really interesting. And that actually relates to what Will did. You want to share what you did, Will?
Sure.
Because you can speak for yourself.
Simple. What is it?
Arch.
Arch. Well, it is an arch. Like St.
Simple
Louis.
concept, yes.
Okay, right, simple concept. The St. Louis Arch, the gateway to the West, right? Well, here we've got a gateway to a new belief system, kind of what you're saying, get rid of that belief system and look at positive things towards the future. Gave a whole new generation of people something, in a way, to look forward to.
Okay. And that was that struggle, of course.
Right,
Yeah.
sure.
Okay, so you just did the process of what we will be asking you and expecting you to do over the course of this year as you're learning about understanding by design. And this most important first step, which is the enduring understanding. Whatever you come up with in your brainstorm, the first go round, you may say, you know, there's a way I can make that deeper. There's a way that I can take it to another level for my kids, for myself, that allows me to introduce some really interesting primary sources or some interesting concepts that will engage us more, all right? So I wanted you to feel what that felt like with Play-Doh, right? Because we're going to be doing that a lot in our conversations as we're putting these lesson plans together. I'm going to stop here about the UBD stuff, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm expecting to do over the course of the year, and I'm going to ask you to hold me accountable for this, okay? So first of all, this PowerPoint will be available to you after the workshop. I'm going to try to be as transparent as possible about what pedagogy I'm using, because part of the feedback that we got from year one was, yeah, but I don't know how to do this in my classroom. You know, it's fun here, it works here, but I don't know how to make that fit. So what I want to do is talk about what we've done. I want us to be metacognitive, as they say in the educational research. Be the adults standing outside looking in, right? So what just happened here over the last hour or so? Hang on one second. Okay, so first thing I did was an environmental scan. I said, who's a cheerleader, who's an athlete, who's a, correct. You would do that with your students to see, I mean, if this was September 12th, 2001, you were doing a serious environmental scan. What just happened yesterday? How are you feeling about it? Did you know anybody who died in New York or DC or in Pennsylvania? You'd definitely be doing an environmental scan when you had a crisis like that. But we should do it every day in our classrooms. Who's here? Who's in the room? What's the mood of the room? How are people feeling? What are they afraid of? What are they excited about? We did movement, okay? We tapped into Gartner's multiple intelligences. There's a kinesthetic movement. We also did a little bit of sort of culturally relevant stuff, okay? So either youth culture or church or hip hop culture, African American culture, Southern culture. There is room for sort of call and response. There's room for chanting, rhythm, whatever, okay? So again, it's something that might be familiar to the people in the room, that might, you know, get them up off their feet and say, oh, this is kind of fun, right? Yeah. So it's using different learning styles and tapping into those learning styles. Then I ask you what you love about teaching history. Just connecting to your personal meaning, all right? You're adults, you're professionals, you're here for a reason, right? And I want to know what those reasons are, because I want to be able to work with your own passions so that you can elevate those and infect every single child in your classroom with your passion for teaching history. But first you have to be able to name that, okay? And it comes from you being a little bit self-reflective about that. Again, we went back to multiple intelligences where you got the Play-Doh. So it's tactile and visual, all right? You got to take these things that are in our heads and put them into something somebody else could see, and you're using your hands to play with Play-Doh, which is kind of cool and fun for adults to do. Think, pair, share. I know people do it in elementary school, sometimes in middle school. Usually by high school, they're in rows facing forward, raising their hands. They're not doing a whole lot of think, pair, share. All right. Thinking first, solo work, reflecting, then collaborating. All right. And it's a way of doing small group work that's really effective. I timed you, all right? Because a lot of times when I go to classrooms and I see people doing what's called small group work, the task is not really clear. The kids are sitting in a group of 3 or 4, but they don't know why they're sitting in a group of 3 or 4, and the person outside looking in doesn't know why they're in a group of 3, okay? You know, and also they might get lost and say, well, Miss So-and-so hasn't checked in with us for 20 minutes, and so we're going to have to talk about homecoming, we're going to talk about the game, we're going to talk about what was on Real Housewives and so-and-so last night, right? Okay. So you time it. It has a really specific task. All right. Okay, so then I did a little mini lecture, which all of us feel compelled to do because we are bursting with knowledge that we want to share with our students, right? But you don't want to go on and on and on and on. So you package it, you know, you start with the popcorn. Who knows this? Okay, just give me some words or phrases of which you know. To begin the KWL chart, which is something they do in elementary school, but by the time you get to high school, they don't do that so much. What do you already know? What do you want to know? What have you learned as a result? Okay, so the mini lecture started with the popcorn.